We're all on video these days, whether it's working from home or being on a Zoom or Teams or any form of digital video right now. We are all on it. So, how do we set up our homes so that it is the dream studio to showcase our video, our sound, and our lights? Well, today, join me on the Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show as we featured Junaid Ahmed, founder of Home Studio Mastery. Let's start the countdown. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Fanny Dunnigan, and you are watching the Creator Tips, Tools, and Tales live show. Welcome to the show where every other week we feature content creators, thought leaders, and experts as they share their content creation journey as well as their advice and insights. So glad you're here, and make sure that you let people know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Introduce yourself, tell people what you do, use the comments as a place to network and meet other people. And I challenge you to connect with 3 new people today so that you can build your network. And we are coming to you live on LinkedIn. And let's see who is here. I see Diana. Welcome, Diana, tuning in from Dallas. I saw another amazing live streamer, Gabe. Welcome, Gabe. So good to see you. And Clarine, an amazing content creator on LinkedIn. Looking forward to this event. Me too, Clarine. I see Ashley here from Minnesota. Anyone else in the Midwest, be sure to connect with her. And Florence Love, welcome Florence from Texas. Well, welcome everybody. We are so glad that you joined us. And as I mentioned, This show is all about content creation and helping you build your content and your journey to being a content creator. So I want to also welcome our community manager, Ann Small, to the show. You are going to be seeing her all over the comment feed. How are you, Ann?
Doing great. Really excited about this.
Me too. And tell people what you're going to be looking out for.
Okay, I'm going to be looking out for the best comments, questions, because we have a prize for you. You want to let them know what it is, Fanny?
Yes, here it is. There you go. So a
Awesome.
tripod for the best question of the day. And Anne's going to be looking out for all that. And then Anne will also make sure I don't miss any questions from the audience, because this is a whole community. It's not just me talking to the guests. I want all of you to also be commenting and then asking our guests questions around building an amazing dream home studio. That's what we're going to be talking about. So you'll see Anne all over the feed. Thank you for your help, Anne.
Absolutely.
Okay. So be sure to get all your questions ready when it comes to building your dream home studio. And now I want to get to my content tip of the week. So let's do that. So this week, we're going to talk all about leveraging your stories when it comes to content creation. And this is going to be my tip of the week here, how to leverage your stories. And the reason this is so important, especially in this age of AI and maximum efficiency and AI helping us write scripts and write content and generating ideas, all these kinds of things. So, what's left for us as the creator? Well, what will always be unique to us is our stories, our personal stories, our stories that can connect us with our audiences, build relationships. Because when we share our stories, we connect with our audience, and our community sees us and we see them. And there's nothing quite as powerful as that. And that's something that technology, AI, as much as I love it all, those things can never be taken away, is our stories. So I want to jump right into it. These are actually a few excerpts from a presentation that I did at InnoTech last week, a technology conference. And this is something that I usually only present in my presentations, but I wanted to share this with you all to help you with your storytelling. And the great Seth Godin, the marketing guru, always says people do not buy goods and services, they buy relations, stories, and magic, right? We see something, it touches us, and we want it or we love it. And from there, we justify it with logic from our head. But it's always those stories and magic that touch us. So when you tell your stories, I'd like for you to maybe take a screenshot of this and use this as a guide for how you tell stories, and use it as a prompt to help you come up with stories from your life. Okay. Our unique stories start all the way from childhood, right? What are some of your childhood stories that have guided your career? So for me, a big part of my childhood was that I was an immigrant from China that grew up in Canada, and I had to take English as a second language classes and ESL classes and learn English. And now I talk for a living. So those ESL classes and learning English really kind of defined how I talk nowadays and like really made me part of who I am today. So think of stories that you have like that from your childhood that define your current career. And then as you go through school, right? As you go through maybe your college, what did you study? Or in high school, what was your favorite subject? And how do those things define you? Like for me, I studied civil engineering. I was a big geek and I love math and science. And then morphing that into now, I help technology firms with branding and marketing. And there was always a creative side of me that I kind of like kept suppressed until I realized that I could really leverage it. So again, like what are stories from your high school and college days that help you with your career now? And then as you get older, right, into family, you can talk about things that maybe spark interest from your family. I talk sometimes about me taking several years off to be a stay-at-home mom before transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship. So you might have similar stories as that. And your stories will be unique to you as well. And then lessons you learned as you're in mid-career, challenges you faced at work or as an entrepreneur. Talk about those and then the lessons you learned and advice that you can share with your audience. And then as you move on into your career, you might start to look at what legacy you want to leave behind. What are some of the advice and lessons you want to impart? And so think of those stories and then paying it forward. Maybe what kind of community service are you doing now as you pay it forward? What are associations or nonprofits that you're supporting and lifting them up and sharing their stories and why they're important to you? So those are just some ideas for you as to how to pull from your life and pull from your childhood to school to mid-career to legacy. Those are all ideas to prompt you for stories that you can tell on LinkedIn. So I hope that helps. And finally, if you could help me over the years, all the content tips that I've shared, I would love to ask for a favor in that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow that right now. You can scan that QR code. It will take you to my YouTube channel called Corporate Creators. So please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It has all these content tips as well as many, many others. So that's Corporate Creators. Look that up on YouTube. And I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, that's the content tip of the week. And I see some comments. Yes, Lynn says unique stories at every age. Absolutely. We all have so many stories to share. And that's something that will always be special and unique to us. Okay, now on to the guest of the show. I want you all to join me in welcoming Junaid Ahmed. How are you?
Hey, Fanny, I'm doing great. How are you
I'm
doing? Thank you so much
so
for having
happy
me.
you're here. There's going to be lots of cool toys and tricks that you're going to show our audience. So everybody be sure to connect with Junaid. There is his name. He's on LinkedIn. And I want to read to you all his bio. There's a really cool story he says in here. So I'm going to read this to you right now. And it starts with, all he could see were the yellow walls behind him the day he stepped into his basement office to shoot his first video course. You see that? He's telling a story. Junaid Ahmed was planning to launch a course to teach content creators how to use smartphones for video production. But that day, as the record button on his phone began to blink for what seemed like minutes, he froze, realizing that he was completely unprepared. He didn't have the right tools. His setting was unimpressive, and every solution he could think of seemed complicated and temporary. The excitement he had felt about creating his course instantly dwindled, and Junaid knew something had to change. So he stepped back and began to pay attention to other content creators who were producing video content effortlessly and flawlessly. And he realized that he had all the knowledge and equipment to do the same thing. He studied the pros, invested in the tools, and became serious about his craft. Today, Junaid is the founder of Humble Zone and creator of Home Studio Mastery, designed to teach you how to build your home studio. And he has 2 decades of video production experience, as well as designing websites and apps focused on a systematic process and seamless user experience. He provides podcasters, speakers, and content creators a comprehensive plan for their studio equipment, lighting, layout, and he enables them to create effortless content in a comfortable and impressive home studio setting. He's the author of Mastering iPhone Video Production and host of Hacks and Hobbies podcasts. He also speaks frequently at national events such as Podfest and multiple virtual summits. So, definitely a top expert for our topic today, Junaid. Tell us how did you even get into content creation? I'm always fascinated by that from our guests.
Well, Fanny, that's the first time somebody else has read that bio in front of me, so it felt very like, whoa, who is this guy? Is that really
I
me?
love it. I love how you made it
But
into kind of
what?
like a story too. Show us
Yeah,
that
because
screen again. Show us your yellow screen again.
my yellow walls, right? Here's my
There
yellow
you
walls,
go. Look at the difference, guys. Oh my goodness.
and
Amazing.
it's the same office, the same room.
Yeah.
So how did I get into home
And
studios?
content creation.
Well,
Mhm.
or content creation, right? So, um, starting out very young, I love number one, I love technology. So for the longest time, I've been playing with tech for computers from 1992. My dad got us the very first computer, and I
Ah,
was just typing. I saw him typing without looking at the keyboard. I'm like, oh my god, that is amazing. So that pushed me into learning more about computers, and over time, I was just so engrossed by the technology and by all of the things that computers could do for us. Now, fast forward to 2000s when we were on social media, when we were creating content, blogs were a huge thing. So I've been blogging since 2000.
wow.
You can check out supergenet.com or technojunkie.com, where I would talk about tech and talk about random ramblings for a long time. And in 2012, I discovered podcasting.
Mm.
Now, in 2012, I had a very short stint of a podcast with 4 episodes with two of my cousins, my family members' cousin and a brother-in-law, and we're like, let's do this podcasting. What's the whole hoopla about? We managed 4 episodes, but because the tech wasn't available, like
Mm.
we have so many amazing tech right now, um, but we didn't have access to that. So we still managed to create something, but it was something that stuck in the back of my head of like, I want to go back and create a podcast. It wasn't till 2018. I was reading a book by Gary Vaynerchuk called
Oh,
Crushing It.
yes.
It took me a long while to finish
Yes.
reading the book, but towards
Amazing
the end of
book.
the book, he says, just document your journey.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, what journey will I document? And as you know, creating content is literally that. It's documenting your journey. Especially if you don't have a story, you want to document, get all of that documenting out so then you can actually tell good stories.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it just so happened. I'm going to pause here so
No, keep going.
you can
Yes. And tell us that
okay.
transition to like becoming a home studio advisor, an architect.
All right, sweet. Okay, sweet. So as I am documenting my as he tells me document your journey, it's like, what am I doing that I can document? And it just so happened I had finished a beekeeping course, an 8-week beekeeping course. I was like, wait, I'm about to start my beekeeping journey, might as well document that journey. So for 1 year I would record on my phone while I would drive back and forth from work on my phone. And it was just fun talking on the phone and recording this journey of mine of documenting. And then towards the end of 2018, I was like, hey, I'm sure there's other crazy people talking to
Mm.
themselves. Why not I start interviewing them on the podcast? So I did a pivot and I started talking to other creators, other podcasters. Now, when 2020 hit, we were all
Yeah.
spending a lot more time in our homes. And by that time, I had already recorded 200 episodes on my podcast.
Yep.
But I now found the time to create the studio space
Mm.
because when you have more time to spend on your grass, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a greener grass.
Yes.
So that's what I ended up doing. And that's how I became the home studio architect, bringing my knowledge of video production and Hollywood techniques and documenting stories and creating commercials. I brought all of that knowledge because I had the gear.
Hmm.
I put it all in the studio and learned from other folks like Pat Flynn and Louis Petrucci and all these amazing people, Sean Cannell, as they're creating content for their YouTube channel. I was like, they're teaching me stuff that I already know. Why am I not doing what they're doing? Right.
Yes.
So that's how the transition happened. And I was like, okay, that's what it takes.
And I'm going to maximize your screen just so people can like admire your studio right now. Look at that, folks. Look at that.
Thank you.
So tell me, Junaid, like, let's start with, and look, oh yeah, okay, show and tell your different scenes,
Sure. Yeah, just show off this little different seal.
please.
So this is the side camera, which just, and if you notice, there's a little bit of movement in there as well. And then I have another camera shot in the back so that you can see what it takes to put a little bit of studio together. And
Look at
again, a
that
little bit of
pan.
movement,
Oh my gosh,
just so like, hey,
so
come in over.
cool. Yeah, we're all like totally admiring it. Diana's like gorgeous, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with the challenges and mistakes that you see people doing first. Okay, before we get to your tips, what are people doing
Absolutely.
wrong when it comes to their home studios?
Well, first of all, it's not their home studio yet, right? So even let's say even they say, okay, it's not an office, we want to make it a studio. The one thing that they're doing wrong is probably not removing the stuff that's distracting the scene,
Mm.
distracting the frame, or they're not blocking the shot properly. So there might be a bed in there might be a window, there might be lights coming in, people walking through doors, whatnot. So you want to pay attention to all of the things that might distract you versus all of the things that are going to bring in your personality through the studio.
Mm,
And
got it.
and what's amazing is that we have a ton of examples in front of us, not just on YouTube, but on television,
Mhm.
in movies. Like, look at how they're framing the shot. Look what they're doing, where they're placing the eyeline, where they're placing the person, how close are they versus how far they are, creating that connection with the people.
Absolutely. So, clearing the clutter, what else are we doing wrong?
Paying attention to your audio. A lot of the times we're using built-in microphones on our
Mm.
laptops or built-in microphones on something else, or sitting in an echoey room or sitting in a room where there's a lot of um, things that are going to distract the audio, right? So all of those things are going to create a not so awesome experience. Think about it this way: if you could not hear me, would you pay any more attention
No,
if my video wasn't
it's a
good?
moot
So
point. Yeah.
you want to make sure that you can hear the person. You want to make sure that people can hear you properly. They actually did a study saying that if you sounded a certain way or a certain quality of the audio, it actually makes the person listening to think that you're not that smart. And the
Ah,
same person using a high version of microphone taught this taught a lesson, and people thought he was 10 to 20% smarter than the person before, whereas it was the same person.
there you go, folks. Audio can make you sound smarter. We all want better audio.
Yes, we do.
What else? Final mistake.
All right. Number 3, not having proper lighting. Why do we adore the day? the daytime, the daylight savings time that we have right now, because there's more light. We could do a lot more things. Cameras need the same thing. They need proper lighting so that people can see you. Not that they can hear you. You want to make sure that they can also see you properly. So what I like to do is layer or paint a picture with darkness. So start with a dark room and start adding lighting. And I could demonstrate that later on. Start adding lighting so that you show up on camera on, and literally any camera will make you look beautiful if you have the proper lighting.
Okay, so folks, there you have it. Clear the clutter, pay attention to the audio and lighting. Those are some common mistakes. So let's get to the best practices. Like, teach us now. What should we start with? Should we start with the audio? Or what do you usually start with when you start to advise one of your clients on designing a home studio?
So the first thing that I start with is look at all the things that we can get for free, right? Getting a good microphone is going to cost you some money. Getting good lighting is going to cost you some money. Cameras. So you want to start with how you want to start with the free stuff, which is lighting, because we all have massive windows in our
Yeah.
homes. So make sure that you're facing the camera away from that light source.
Mhm.
Use that window as a light source for yourself. So that's where I want to start with.
Okay.
Number two, you want to look around your surroundings. So I like to call it a room, analyzing your room. So you analyze your room to see, okay, what's going to be in my shot. A lot of the times when we are setting up our offices, guess what we're focusing on? Okay, what do I see? Oh, I see this, I see this. Everything looks beautiful. I'm not paying attention to what's behind me.
Hmm.
But as soon as I turn the camera on, boom, I have stuff behind me that's gonna throw things off.
Yes. And I have some questions already from our audience. Um, I see here from Ilya, a gorgeous designer of designs and PowerPoints, good friend of ours on the show. Um, do you recommend having an audio mixer with your microphone?
So this all comes down to what type of microphone you're going to be purchasing. If you're getting one of the SM7Bs, then yes, you would need some kind of mixer to bring in that audio source, because that specific microphone does not have an interface built in. Microphones that I like to recommend uh, is the Shure MV7. It sounds great, it looks great, and it just uses a simple USB cord to connect to your computer. So I like to be as frictionless as possible, because the less friction there is for you to set up the equipment, the more content you're going to create, the more time you're going to spend with it.
Got it. And I need that. I'm actually wanting to upgrade my microphone. I'm glad you said that Shure one is a USB, because at the same time, I don't want to like go all out with audio equipment, but I do
Hmm.
want a better mic. So that was
Yeah,
Shure MV7, you said?
the Shure
Got
MV7,
it.
uh,
So
Mandy Victor.
I also have a question here, and this is a very common question that I've seen for people with prescription glasses, right? Because you get the reflection. So even if you have good lighting, you get that
Hmm.
reflection on your glasses. Any tips for that?
Yeah, so the reflection mainly comes if you have light source coming directly in front of you. You have the camera right here, and the light source is also there. So what's going to happen is going to reflect back. So what you want to do, you want to change the position of the lighting up here. So when the light falls on you, it on the lenses, it falls down. So the camera is right here, right? So camera is right here. The light source is up here, and it reflects down again. The answer is in the question, right? How do I avoid the reflection
Hmm.
of the light in my camera? Well, we change the position of the lighting to avoid that reflection.
Are there certain angles of lighting that are better than others? Or
Yes, so I recommend the light to be as high as possible and aiming down at 45 degrees from the ceiling, and then so that way when it's cutting down, it's going to, you know, flash down.
and you have a good
And I do
shot.
have
Can
a
you do that back shot again of your lighting? That was
Yeah, so I have my lighting right up there, and it's coming down on me, shining my forehead, my face, and then coming down.
Love
And
that.
I have a pair of glasses that I can also show off. So the only thing you see the reflection of is my monitor. So
Yes.
let's say if I were to minimize these windows and have
Oh, yes.
right,
Hmm.
so now you don't see the reflection because no light is coming in directly in front of me.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about lighting. When setting up, tell us about your background, because like there's some amazing stuff happening when it comes to lighting your background over there. Give us some tips around that.
So the background is all around showcasing who you are, showcasing your personality. I have a lot of toys in my background. I have a lot of different things, but because of the type of lens that I'm using, it's kind of blurred out and you can actually see the camera moving back and forth.
Yeah.
So again, it all comes down to how deep and how detailed you want to do in your background. And it all starts with think intentionally what you want the message to show for the audience watching your video.
Mm,
And a lot of, and we've come 3 years into this, right? It's 2023 April, and we started with pandemic in 2020. So there has been a lot of changes. A lot of people have learned, okay, this is what I should be doing. And again, it all comes down to the more you practice, the more you're going to pay attention. Okay, what's in my background? How can I make this better? Again, experiment, experiment, experiment. See what's your personality is, and go with that.
so I noticed. So do you even have like lighting inside your shelving to have that
Yes, yes,
downlight?
I do.
Wow.
Yes, I do. So I have two sorts of lighting happening in my back shelf. I have LED lights that's running around the side of the shelf, and then I have inside each of these shelves as well. So only two shelves, and then the third light is shining down. If you want, I can demonstrate now
Yes,
how I've layered my
please.
lighting.
I'm going to maximize this here. So,
All right, let's bring off the lights. I'm gonna just tell, "Hey Siri, turn off the studio."
Sorry, some accessories didn't respond.
So all of the lights are turned off now. So what I did is I started with a black dark background and I started adding layers of light. So I did the key light. Now this light will do perfectly fine because you can see me talking. It's a very dramatic vibe, right? So then I was like, okay, let me add some shelf lights. So then I added some lights in the back and it created this crazy looking view. And I'm like, okay, what's going on over here? Let's add some more lights in the room to add some more dimension. And then I was like, okay, how about I add a floodlight to the entire shelf instead of going after each of the shelves because that was very time consuming. And this is a $15 floodlight just shining down from up there. Now,
wow.
what you'll notice is that I'm still blending into the background,
Yeah.
right? So what I added next was something called we call a hair light. So it'll add the dimension and the lighting. So let
Ooh,
me
do that
demonstrate
again.
again, right? So now I'm still blending into the background, but if I add this hair light, it's going to define my shoulders, it's going to
Wow.
define my hairline and kind of separate off. And if you pay attention to movies, every single person in a shot, you'll see that their hair light is defined. There's light shining in their eyes because that's the connection that you make with the actor.
And what if, like, I don't want my whites showing of my hair, Junaid?
Well,
I'm
um,
teasing.
maybe we could have some colored
Yeah,
lights
there
for
you
you
go.
for your
Some
hair
purple
right now.
highlights instead of white highlights.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
and very valid question from the audience. Florence says, like, obviously you have layers and layers upon
Hmm.
lighting, right? Is there at the beginner level, or maybe even just the mid level, because you're at the advanced level, like
Hmm.
beginner, mid level, beginner, you said Windows, but maybe like
Yep.
middle, what would be a medium between beginner and what you have?
So you need at least you want at least two sets of light, or two light pieces, or I don't even know what they're called anymore. Two LED panels, let's
Mm,
say, because that's going to help level. That's going to help you create a level of professionalism that the camera can at least appreciate. As long as the camera is appreciating you, showing up on camera, showing up with better lighting, I think everything else is additional. So, for example, if I did turn off my shelf lights
mm,
and my hair lights, these are now just two pieces of lights in my room.
right. Yeah.
So if you can get to this level, then you are already doing a really good job in getting enough light.
Now we have a question from the audience from Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, I don't know what this word means, but when you layer the lights, do you use NLP lights?
NLP
Colors,
colors,
sorry, NLP colors.
right?
Yes.
Um, I didn't think too much about NLP colors, but that is a really interesting
What is that concept,
question.
NLP colors? I don't know what that.
Yeah, that's something, and Jeremy will have to tell us. What is NLP colors,
You'll
Jeremy?
have to tell us in the comments, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Um, and then let me see here. We also have a funny question from Debbie. Do you know if there's a microphone that can filter out my Texas accent?
No, actually, you don't want to filter that, because that is your personality. That is the only, like, if AI is doing voiceover, I think yours is going to stand out
Yes,
more over AI voice. So I think hold on to that accent.
absolutely.
It makes who you are.
Now, I also saw a question. I can't find it right now, but it was around, oh, there we go, from uh, Izka. I'm imagining. Let me know if I mispronounce your name, Izka. What do you recommend for new creators when it comes to imposter syndrome? Because a lot of the times we could see some amazing creator like yourself where everything's look just immaculate. And then that
Hmm.
stops us from even trying because we feel like it would be so long before I could achieve that. Or so how do you kind of deal with that imposter syndrome, or I can never be as good, so I'm not even going to like attempt it?
Well, here's what I say about imposter syndrome. If you are feeling imposter syndrome, guess what? You are not alone, and you're feeling it because you are not an imposter. Because imposters don't feel imposter syndrome.
I like that. Say that one more time, Junaid. Everyone listen.
If you are feeling imposter syndrome, it means that you are not an imposter. You are your own person. You bring your own story. You bring your own personality. You bring all of you into every content that you create. And that's what people want. So if, let's say, if you shut down and say, I can't be that good, so I'm not going to do it. Guess what? You're eliminating
Yes.
people that are looking for you. They're looking for your story to share and show them the journey that it takes to go from zero to hero. Because the one thing that nobody talks about is the boring stuff, is the grinding stuff.
Mm,
It's where we feel the imposter syndrome. So if you are feeling imposter syndrome, tell people that what you're feeling, because you will find the people that resonate with you, and they are going to uh, cheer you on.
yeah. And I find even for me, like when we speak our fears or speak our vulnerabilities out loud, it lessens the power it has on us. And so I'm all for what you just said. Jeremy
Agreed.
did say, okay, NLP colors is the colors that trigger our actions. For example, if we
Mm,
do like hot color like red, orange, and yellow, it might spark a certain emotion. Have you ever worked on that and how it like ties into psychology?
I have not. I have not
Though I
done that.
did notice, like, so when you had your lights that was just black, right? It
Hmm.
made for like a colder, a
More
little
dramatic.
sinister
Yeah.
look. And then as soon as you brought in the purple, then it just like warmed
Mm,
up your whole set. So
yeah.
definitely some psychology behind that.
And this was actually just an experiment. I had it all red before, and I was like, I'll just add a little blue, and guess what? Red and blue make purple.
Oh, so it's actually blue. It's not purple. It just mixed with the red.
Because it's mixed with the red. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay. I'm going to bring back the comments on the side here. And while it's coming up, I do want to get to you and I were talking about this, about perfectionism, right? Tying into
Hmm.
imposter syndrome as well. The need to feel like we can only show up when we're perfect or when we've done it multiple times. What are your thoughts about that in terms of being on video and aiming for perfection?
Well, I think that's a lost battle because as humans, we are not perfect. So if you're trying to be perfect, then you're trying to be inhuman. Does that make
Mm,
sense?
mm,
So making the mistakes, like for example, earlier I was on a call and I was yesterday and we were talking about teleprompters and my teleprompter was not working. And I'm in the middle of it. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get to the back of it, turn it, power it off, and like as much as I can, try to be perfect. But it's the mistakes, it's the imperfection
yes.
that draws people in.
And we connect with imperfection because we
Yes.
feel it ourselves. I
Yeah.
saw, Ilya, he said he shared his first LinkedIn video today. So that's a step towards YouTube. So there you go,
Yes.
guys. Just
Way to go,
start.
Ilya.
Just start. And Clarine, ultimate content creator here. Perfection can be very frustrating, but
Hmm.
perfection is the thief of progress. We got some great
Yes.
quotes going here.
Really
We
amazing
serve
ones.
ourselves better by learning as we go. Right there, Clarine, that's an amazing quote for
Yeah.
sure. And I also want to, speaking of that and getting people to do things, Junaid, I know you have a 30-day challenge that you want to share with our
Yes.
audience. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So, because it's so hard to become perfect without practice, I was like, hey, how about we do a 30-day video challenge where every single day I'm going to send you a prompt and you just have to answer that prompt with a question, with an answer. So, what it's doing two things. Number one, when people think about creating video content, they don't know what to talk about. Like, okay, hey, I'm Junaid. I like to talk about bees and bike at the same time. So you don't know what to talk about. You're kind of like that's the first thing that's stopping us. So at Toastmasters, there's something called icebreakers.
Mhm.
So the first speech that you do is an icebreaker speech, and in that you're basically answering a question on breaking the ice. So in my 30-day video challenge, I'm setting a prompt every single day, and all you have to do is open the phone, record that video answering that question, and you don't even have to post it
Mm.
anywhere. Just do the practice. Because when you do the practice, you're like, hey, I want to show off this thing that I shared, that I just recorded. And eventually you'll get over and get comfortable in creating more content.
And there you have it, folks. If you've been sitting on the fence, this is an amazing challenge. You don't even have to post, just like Junaid said, but at least get that practice in being on video. Here is the link to Junaid's 30-day challenge, homestudiomastery.com/30-day vids. And you'll see that in the comments from Anne with a link to Junaid's 30-day challenge. So you have no excuses, folks, to get on video. Just do it. Absolutely. Okay, let's get techie, Junaid. Let's show
Ooh.
off those toys. Now, you obviously have very fancy advanced cameras and technology and tools, But
Hmm.
let's start with like low and medium options. So camera or webcam, right? Any
Hmm.
suggestions for us?
The number one camera that you can use with your computer is already in your hand. It's your smartphone. There are apps on the internet, on the app store, that will make your iPhone or your Android a webcam for your computer.
Ah, do you know one
And I've
offhand?
actually the app that I've documented and created video around is called Iriun, IRIUN.com. I can share a link here
Yes.
to my video.
Yeah, if you type in the message, I'll get that into the captions here. That was IRI.
Here, I have a whole tutorial video
Ah,
on my YouTube
there
channel
you
that y'all
go.
can go check out.
Okay, I'm going to get that to the captions, but please keep on going.
Yes. So use your smartphone as a camera to start with because it has a better sensor, better lens, better everything, and we take photos with it all day long. So why not use it as a webcam on your computer? So that's number one. Number two, if you do want to spend some money, you could probably get something like a Logitech Brio. Now, I'm not a fan of those webcams because again, the the difference between that camera and the camera that I do like to recommend is this. So this blue dot you see is how big the sensor is on those webcams.
Mm,
And the black box is how big the sensor is on the camera that I'm using.
wow.
So the bigger the space, the more light it's able to do, and how it's able to like even blur out my hand, even though it's like right here. So that's the difference that it makes. Again, you want to start small, make that money with your content, and then invest in and get a better camera.
Got it. Is there a webcam you would recommend then? That
Yes, the Logitech Brio
Logitech
is the
Brio.
one I would
Okay.
recommend. It goes around 127 to $150 on
Yeah,
Amazon.
Logitech Brio. And then what camera do you have on you right now?
The camera that I am using is a Canon EOS R. It's a full frame camera with
Mm,
a 35 millimeter lens, uh,
yeah.
set at f1.8. So that's what's causing this deep blur, and
Yes.
I can bring in objects really close to it and be able to focus on them as
For
well.
sure. Yeah, and I use a Sony I think 6400.
Yes, that's a
And
beautiful camera.
yeah, and it's a mirrorless camera. And then yeah, I love the blurry background, so I did get a special lens as well.
Nice,
For sure, for sure. So there you
perfect.
have it, folks. Some options for you for cameras. What about mics and audio?
So to a beginning microphone would be you can get, again, the Shure MB7 is around 250, 237 depending on if there's any coupons around. You can start with something as simple as a lavalier mic. Now these you can pick up for anywhere from 15 to $20 and connect these directly to your computer,
Hmm,
because what we're doing is we're eliminating a lot of the things. Number one thing that we're eliminating is we're eliminating your voice to be able to bounce back from walls. Because this microphone sits so close to you, you sound very clean, very clear, and on a budget.
got it. What would be a higher end then? What do you use?
The higher end would be again the Shure
Mm.
MV7, and if you want to go even higher than that, then of course there's the sky's the limit.
Yes. I've seen there was one that
Nice.
oh, it was like a German brand or something, but it was like $1,200 for a microphone or something like that. So there's definitely that. I saw one of my video editors, Daryl Stevens, in the comments, who does video like a dad. I heard it on your audio once, Daryl, and I just love that sound. Um,
And I have a special guest, so give me one sec.
okay, folks. I hear a little kid voice. I love it. For those of you out there, again, just want to point out the using your iPhone as a webcam. Oh,
Say hi to the little guy.
I
This is
love
Isa.
it.
Muhammad, come back.
Adorable. Just adorable. Future
He's gonna be a
podcaster right there.
featured podcaster right here.
You're already on
Hey,
camera.
princess.
Oh.
He sees himself and he's like, "Oh,
See, I love baby voices. Like there's something so magical and just special about baby voices.
say hi."
Look at the
He's gonna break
lights.
the internet today.
I love it. Who doesn't love a baby?
We know, right?
You can help daddy as he answers these questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's get back to lighting because I did see a question here. Let me,
Mhm.
or actually, tell us first the low and medium options we have for lighting.
So for lighting, you can start with something like a newer light panel, which they start anywhere from $100 to $300, and for $150 you'll get a pair of lights
Mm,
that you can use. You can use with your setup, and they also come with light stands. So they make sure that they want to provide you with everything they have. Now there are multiple sorts types of light. There are smaller lume cubes that go for $60 or whatnot that might work in some
mm,
situations. The reason I where they work really well is when you're traveling. But if you have a permanent setup,
yeah.
then I would recommend to get a larger light panel, which creates a softer
Yeah.
looking setup,
Yeah,
anyways.
because I see people with the ring lights and it's pretty harsh, right? Whereas
Yeah,
is it called a diffuser or whatever where they
yeah.
it
You want a
softens it?
ton of diffusion in your light. Yes,
Mm,
softbox
yes.
diffuses that light in
Oh,
here.
there.
He wants to get the
Daryl
microphone.
came back with it. It's a Newman mic. That was the
Oh, a
one.
Newman.
Oh, those
Good.
were they sound amazing, but they're like over $1,000. Um, and see, you are breaking the internet. What's your son's name? Too cute.
This is Isa.
Isa.
He's drooling.
I love it. You're beautiful co-guest for sure.
Like,
I have. Oh, this is a great question because sometimes we don't have. We're like stuck with a wall right behind us, so there's
yeah.
like not as much depth that we can create. So
hmm
how do you get that kind of separation if you're sitting and your back is to the wall from Ali?
Well, the one thing, Ali, the one thing you want to do is probably move away from that wall or just turn around because there's no solution. The closest thing that you could probably do is paint that wall green and use it as a green screen.
Oh, interesting. Ah, okay.
Because then, if something's really behind you and you want to blur it, so you can try to use the camera's blur feature, but then that means that you need to have good amount of lighting on
Mm,
you so you're not disappearing into the background.
mm.
And then the second step is to put a green screen on it, light up the green screen, light yourself up, and now you have a nice green room.
There you go. What are your thoughts about so let's say we were to like flip the scene, right? But then
Mhm.
maybe the door is there. What are your thoughts about like a
Yeah.
door being behind you?
So there's multiple ways you can combat that, and not to. I mean, there's you can add decorations to that door. I mean, I haven't really played much with doors. I
Mm,
mean, I use my door as a door hanger with all my clothes hanging behind it. Um, but there's several different ways that you can make those doors look beautiful.
got it. Got it. Okay, so lots of ideas for you guys as far as room setup and webcams and mics and lighting. Now, another thing I know that is very common is as we do content creation, as we get this content out there, it can be tiring. And
Yes.
maintaining that consistency, you have over 500 podcast episodes. That's a lot of consistency. How do you maintain that? Like, how do you get around the grind of it, or to keep it consistent?
Well, Fanny, thank you for that question. And what I've done is I've created a system so it eliminates my time, it eliminates me being involved in the post production of everything, but I am there for the producing of those content. And then also maximizing software like good calendars, software systems that control how you want to use your days. So what I've been doing for the past few years, or almost 6 months ago, is I was recording anywhere from 3 to 5 podcast episodes a week.
Wow.
Right. So now I have a huge backlog
Yes.
in the bank that I can slowly release to the audience, and I have a team that helps with the production and with the editing and with all of the posts. And he wants to eat my he's biting my teeth. My
See, folks, this
he's
is as
biting.
real as it gets, and we're still going.
We got to keep going because life is not going to
Yes,
stop,
this
right?
is live, and that's why I love live, right? You guys just see it all and take it or leave it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
um, awesome. So yes, so batching, and then like really kind of like maybe doing it in a big batch and then
Yeah.
roll it out from there.
And
Absolutely.
and what's beautiful about calendars that we've been using for so long, we already know what happens in February. We know what happens in March and April. We have the spring break. We have, like,
Yeah.
we plan out our calendars based on our kids' school schedules, anyways. So might as well do that for your content creation now also, so that ahead of time you
Yeah.
already know, okay, in February I'm going to talk about Valentine's Day, I'm going to talk about this topic, I'm going to talk about that topic. So that way you just spend a little bit of time every quarter, right, Lisa? Here, have some water. You spend a little bit of time every quarter to figure out, okay, what's your content strategy going to be? How are you going to create and and stay in front of all of the stuff that's coming around?
Absolutely. I want to get to one last question here, and that is from. Here we go. I saw it. It was a really good question. It was around from Jeff. Should you use virtual backgrounds? And then, if so, what kind are best? What do you think?
So we had that really awesome question yesterday as well on Camo Classroom. And the question was, what do we do with virtual backgrounds? Well, in the beginning, they were really cool. Virtual backgrounds were hot.
Mm,
You could have video playing, you could have all sorts of things happening. But virtual backgrounds are actually very distracting to the brain of the other
yeah,
person, because do they pay attention to you or on that virtual background that's creating another level of distress? I
yeah,
don't know. So that's my take on virtual backgrounds. I mean, there's a ton talked about it. I'm not an expert in virtual backgrounds because I like to have it real,
yeah.
one way or the other.
And I'm of that same belief, Junaid. Like for me, I rather see a plain wall even than
Hmm.
a virtual background.
Yeah.
I do feel that it is more real, and then it's more authentic, and I think that creates
Hmm.
the better connection. So I'm with
Absolutely.
you for sure. We can easily go all day long with your
Yes, we
questions,
can.
and but everyone out there, please make sure you connect with Junaid. And again, tell us your website, Junaid, so people.
Yes, so head on over to homestudiomastery.com. You want to learn more about what I'm what I'm cooking up, you can head on over to superjunaid.com. I had the webcam link over there. Again, it's been really fun. If you just have some questions to ask, just head on over to LinkedIn Messenger or Facebook Messenger. I'm always available to answer a question.
Absolutely. Okay, before we wrap up, I have two more things to announce here. And then I'm also going to bring up Anne. Real quick, just some upcoming events. Stay right there, Junaid. We'll close out the
Got it.
show together. I just want to let you know for on June 7th at noon, I'm going to be hosting the CG Hour, sponsored by CG Infinity, and we're going to talk all about Gen Z entering the workforce right around the corner, graduation time. So we're going to have a flood of new graduates. And for those of you hiring, how to work best with them, train them, mentor them, and so forth. And then at the end of May, right here on the Creator Live show, I'm going to have the amazing career coach, Diana Chan, May 25th at 4, talking all about confidence and advocating for ourselves. And we all need that for content creation as well. So save those dates, June 7th, as well as May 25th for upcoming shows. And now let me bring on Anne Small, who's been keeping an eye on all the great questions and comments. Anne, what do you think?
Yes, there were a lot of great questions and comments. I had a favorite. Isga Gonzalez, when she asked, what do you recommend for new creators when it comes to imposter syndrome? Because what Junaid said about if you're concerned about imposter syndrome, you're not an imposter was like something I think we will all remember. Yeah, mic drop. That was a mic drop moment.
Yes,
So
mind
Isga is
blown.
the winner of the day.
Yay, congratulations. So make sure you send your mailing address to Anne Iska, and I will get that tripod over to you. So thank you for that great question. And then as a result, Junaid pulled out that amazing quote. So Junaid, any final words for our audience?
Final thing, thank you so much for everybody with all the lovely comments. I appreciate it. Thank you, Fanny. Thank you, Anne, for running a amazingly confident and beautiful ship, and being so flexible to have a
I
co-guest. I mean,
love it.
he wasn't on the list, but I don't know how he showed up. Thank you so
Our
much. This was
cuteness
so much
factor went
fun.
up for the show, right, Anne?
I know, right?
Absolutely.
And
Oh.
my last takeaway would be go out and create and document, because you never know who's watching and who's getting inspired by your
Yeah,
content.
for sure. And I met Junaid because I was on Krista Molin's show. So, and he was in the audience. We connected. I got on his podcast. He's here on our show. There you go. The power of the network and content creation. So, for all of you out there, make sure you continue to shine your light, share your gifts, share your stories, share your message, and I hope you'll do it through video. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Junaid. Thank you to the
Thank
audience.
you.
We'll see you next time, everyone.